But as for our first guest, well, I'd like to give him a nice, big, long and glowing introduction. But if I did, I'm sure he'd just turn round and tell me to stop messing about. So here he is, the actor, writer, comedian, raconteur, and a truly delightful man, Kenneth Williams. Worried about making a delicate
I know, you see,
it's
it's so easy to fall over and make a pratfall, as the Americans say. And I always think it's very important, if you're going to enter at all, to do it elegantly, don't you? I mean, your elegant set, you see.
True.
Makes me feel quite shabby.
I was just thinking about your new book. Here it is, extracts from your personal diaries. Quite glowing reports of all sorts of people and events in it. Is it a question of what you've had to leave out of it rather than what you put in?
Yes, the censors came into play because the publishers sent it to their solicitors, you know, and they read every line of it, and they cut out one passage which I thought was a delightful one. It was a rather bibulous minister at a Foreign Office reception and, intoxicated, going up to a foreign guest and saying, "Lovely, you lovely creature in scarlet, dance with me." And the visitor turned and said, "I'm the apostolic delegate, and I think you're in no condition to dance with anyone." I thought it was marvellous. They wouldn't have it, because I actually mentioned the name, and they said, no, it could be considered libelous. So, you see, when you come to actually print things, you have to be very, very careful indeed.
Am I allowed to mention the episode with Noel Coward?
Which one?
The first time you met him?
Oh, the first time I met him. Oh, that was when he came into the dressing room. He came into the dressing room. I didn't know it was him. A voice simply said Noel, and I thought it was somebody in the company larking about, because the show had finished. And I was undressed, and I was on this sort of hoe, which had warm water in it, because I believe in washing every part properly, you know, not doing it in a haphazard fashion, you see. And so I took no notice, and the door opened, and of course it was Coward, and I shot up, you see, and this po of warm water was dispersed all over the room, and my dressing gown got soaked. And he said, "What on earth are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, well, you see, I had an operation, I have to be very careful." And he said, "My dear, I understand perfectly. It's piles." I've had the operation myself. I discussed it in my book, Present Indicative. Doubtless you've read it. I know all about the horrors involved. And I said, no, piles, nothing, no. I said I had papilli, you see. A surgeon told me what you've got is papilli. And Carl said, "Papilli? My dear, it's an island in the South Sea." And it turned out he was right, it is. I got it all wrong. These medical things you ought to be very, very careful about.
Have you always kept a diary?
I kept a diary since I was 14, yes. Actually, it had disastrous results at first because I didn't realize you should put it away carefully. I'd left it out, and I'd put in boring evenings spent with Mum and Dad, and my father found it and said, thank you, we're bores, are we? By providing a roof over your head, we're boring." And I said, "You're not supposed to read it." "Well, I did." He said, "If I'm reading it all like that, you'll get a bloody good hiding." So after that, I was very careful. Some diaries actually have got a lock and key on the volume. Sort of a good idea.
Reading through the book, I mean, I'm fascinated to see that you enter down a lot of dialogue that you either overhear or dialogue that you've been involved with.
Well, I have overheard some delightful stuff. I was with George Rose outside the BBC, and this woman in the bus queue was saying to the other woman, "And my dear, we were at her housewarming party, do you see, and I saw it lying there on the stairs for everyone to see." So Muriel found this napkin, and luckily I had some cotton wool in the handbag, and we wrapped it up, you see, and put it back on the stairs, and for all I know, it's lying there to this day. And of course, when the bus came, she gone, and we never found out what she was. That's really delightful. And I was with Maggie Smith once at Baker Street Station, and the girl in front, a Madonna-like creature, very beautiful, the hair parted in the middle, Italian, said to this West Indian man in the booking office, she said, "What's got a San Giovanni?" And he said, "Sixpence." And when I got to him, I said, "Where's she going?" He said, "What's got a San Giovanni? St. John's Wood." And I said, "Oh, yes, of course. San Giovanni, St. John, and Bosco Wood." And I thought, how marvellous that you can actually translate as quick as that. And he said, "When you've been in this job as long as I have, you realise you've got to translate, you know, because London Transport's full of that." And I heard another man on a bus getting off, and the conductor had said, he called out, "Regent Street, Piccadilly, Shaftesbury Avenue." And this man coming down the stairs said, "Did you say Let's Be Avenue?" And the conductor said, no, I didn't, but do you want to make something of it? And he said, no, not without Miss Strawberries. And got off. Completely illogical line. Not without Miss Strawberries. What on earth's it mean? But I put it down in my diary. I write everything down straight away.
Well, seeing you've been on holiday and looking extremely healthy,
Yes,
I
Tenerife.
may add. Yes,
I went to Tenerife, the Canary Islands.
Have you kept the diary up to date while you were
Yes,
there?
I put everything down about that, too. In fact, there was an enchanting episode there because a lot of little children come up to me in hotels because they've seen me doing things like Will-o-the-Wisp and Jackanory, and they come up and say, do that voice, do that voice, do that, go on, do that voice. Say something about something rubbish like that. So I'm with them a lot, you'll see. And one of these little boys I was talking to, his mother came out and told him off. She said, Darren, I told you, you should be in. You will have no cakes tonight. You will have no cake. You should have been in and washed and dressed ready for the meal. And you have not got dressed. You are still in a swimming costume. And she was very angry. And then I saw him the next day and I said, your mother doesn't talk like you. He said, no. He said, no, she's from Hamburg. And I said, oh. Well, how is it then that your father is English and she's from Hamburg? He said, well, she came over, you see, in my dad's firm to do the typing, and then they started kissing. And I thought, what a marvellous, what do you call it, synopsis, really. Absolutely concentrated. Only a child can do that, you see. And they'll say things totally directly without diplomacy. He said to me, you look old. You look old in life, don't you? You look old. Yes, but I am getting on a bit. I'm pushing 56. You know,
I loved it at the section I read in the paper this week where when you arrived with your mother that you were booked in as Mr. and Mrs.
Yes, that's true. It made the papers, didn't it? I made a great scene before. I said, this is scandalous. This place, this dreadful hotel. How dare you push me in a room with my mother? And they said, it says the Mr. and Mrs. William. We thought the Mr. and Mrs. William would have the same room. I said, we're not Mr. and Mrs. Williams. Well, we are, of course, actually. We are, aren't we? I said, we're mother and son. But apparently in Spain they think nothing about shoving you in the same room if you are related. But of course she doesn't want that. She said, you don't see my smalls hanging up in the bathroom. Did it all the laundry.
Kenneth, you have this endless supply of anecdotes, and I'm wondering how much you embellish them as the years go on.
I don't, honestly, because I think, I remember Stanley Baxter saying to me, you know, all comedy is the channeling of a private misery. And he gets involved, he's much more involved than I am with people, and he hears much more from people than I do, because he's a very, very good listener. And he told me about a meeting, an extraordinary meeting he had with a very, very old man. It was in this lobby of a sort of chemist shop, and this old man was ranting on about illness. He was waiting for prescriptions, and he said to Stanley, my first wife died, and all during the dying I had to nurse her, hand and foot, waiting her hand and foot. And I swore after that I'd never marry again unless the woman was healthy. And then I met this, yes. Then I met this woman, this other woman, and she said she'd like to marry me. And I said to her, are you robust? He said, well, the wicked cow. She said, yes. She went down on her knees and said, Fred, I am robust. He said, what happened? She was ill within 3 weeks. I was nursing her and all. And this rather callous dismissal of a whole series of marriages took place, and I thought that was delightful, but he actually has the capacity to stand and listen. I mean, if it was me approached by some old man saying, my wife, I'd say, oh, yes, well, thank you very much, I'm very busy, and move away quickly. But Sally's always got that marvellous ability to get out of situations. I remember being with him once. He was driving an open car, and this man on the pavement looked at him, and he said, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Now, wait a minute. No. Don't tell me. No, don't tell me. And Stanley drove off and said, I won't. It was absolutely brilliant. The man was left in a haze of carbon monoxide or whatever it is, cars discharge.
You mentioned Stanley, and of course you've worked with all the big names, let's face it, but I know that Maggie Smith is a particular favourite of yours. Why do you respect Maggie so much?
Mags has a most wonderful capacity for involving both the two masks, I think, the two masks, you know, the two masks which are always represented in the Greek symbol of theatre is one mask is crying and the other mask is laughing. And they are two sides of, in actual fact, the same coin. And here is a lady who can do both. Her Desdemona was remarkable in its tranquility, its serenity, and its tragic nature, whereas in The Private Miss Jean Brodie, she was actually, at times, terribly funny. And she combines these two elements with a miraculous ability to turn off one and the other at a moment's notice. And she also is quite riveting to play with. I worked with her in the review, the Bamber Gascoigne one first, to show my letters, and then I worked with her again in the Schaffer plays, Private Ear and Public Eye. And I had to kneel in one scene where her marriage was on the rocks. I had to kneel and say, let me be the frog that turns into the prince. And she was facing the house. I had my back to the audience, but I was kneeling doing this, let me be the frog that turns into a prince and transforms your life. And I broke wind, and it was a most unfortunate moment. I'm talking about becoming a prince and all this stuff, you see. And she sat there, and she was facing the house. I wasn't. And she said, front row at that. I said to her after, fancy drawing attention to it. Fancy drawing attention. She said, oh, it's best to air it. Don't try and cover it up. She said, don't be trying to cover it up. Which, in a way, does exemplify that kind of wonderful ability of hers to not care. She is vulnerable.
A lot of people always ask about the Carry On films. I mean, they've obviously gone down as being a cult apart from anything else. Any chance of there being any other Carry On movies?
I don't know. On your show, I've made a mess. On your show, don't you remember? You asked me about them. You said to me, are there going to be any more Carry Ons? And I said, well, the producer's very old, is tottering now to his doom. And the next day, I was at a party, and he came in and said, how dare you? How dare you? Am I tottering to my doom? Do I look as I said, no, you're fine. I'm only 68. You go around saying, I'm near to the grave. We're planning the next Carry On. But a big part for you, too. A surgeon, rather a nasty creature, rushes to the ward saying, I'll lock that off, and all this. I said, I see, well, I have no idea. He said, you'll be very careful what you say on that Gloria Hunniford show in future. And just check the people are well before you start writing them all off. But I remember the first one that really stuck out in my mind was Carry On Constable, and the cameraman said, when we were all policemen taking showers, and we had to come out of these showers and run because a policewoman erroneously had entered the wrong part of the precinct, you see. And it was Jodie Sims, in actual fact, as a policewoman. And the shot was of us running to avoid the lady. And the cameraman said, I can't shoot it, all the bums are flaring. The bums are flaring because they're too white. So Jerry Thomas said, well, you all have to have the bums made up. So they got these trestle tables and said, stand on them, and they wiped all this stuff all over these bums. And Leslie Phillips said, I don't think I should, I'm not going to submit to this. He said, I think we should make a stand about this. I don't think we should submit to this, you see. And everyone he was going right off about it, and Kenny Conn was saying, oh, well, we might as well have our bums made up, as they say, they're flaring, we might as well have them made up. And Charlie Hawtrey was standing there saying, well, this is the Poudre Rochelle here. Does that match? Does it match? And that was all he was concerned with. Did it match?
I think we should assure everybody at home that you did not have to have that done this afternoon.
Oh, no, not at all.
Just finally, Kenneth, you're going to be appearing in London Weekend Television very shortly, aren't you?
Yes, an audience with. An audience with, they call it. I said to the producer, I think it's ridiculously pretentious. An audience with. I mean, only the kings and the queens give audiences, don't they? And I'm not a king. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure this audience enjoyed you this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenneth Williams.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're going to take a short break while I think I repair all the makeup just on my face, I hasten to add. And we'll be meeting Gemma Craven, Sarah Kennedy, and the man who gets more phone calls than British Rail inquiry offices all over the country, Mr. Brian Hayes. So we'll see you right after this.